Hey guys, my name is Ramona. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you're not new. Y'all, this is not my first time trying to film this video, and it's ridiculous how much the enemy be trying me. I was tripping about my hair. I was tripping about when I was supposed to film this. I originally wanted to film this outside, but I didn't have enough time. I fell asleep. Like, my sleep schedule is weird. It's like nighttime right now. It's really late. Then I was having trouble like setting up to film this video. I got my studio box light and like I was just putting it in all different like areas of my room trying to get the lighting to look right. None of that nonsense is gonna stop me from sharing my testimony. I want to get straight into this. Before we start, I want to pray, and I'm not the best prayer. I just started praying. I'm really not that good at it, but we're gonna do it anyway. Father, I come before you with a humble heart tonight, and I ask that you guide me with the Holy Spirit so I'm able to convey my message and praise you and reach the hearts of people who may need to hear this. I ask that you open their ears and correct their heart posture. Help me inspire them to tell their stories. All of the praise is for you. All of the glory is for you. All the works, the credit is to you. In Jesus' name, amen. So that's the best I can do as for now. But let's get straight into this, guys. Ooh, if I have any family watching this, y'all about to hear stuff y'all probably never heard before. I'm a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna begin in my childhood. This is ages 3 to 8 years old. I was a very happy kid, very curious kid. I lived in the projects and I was surrounded by struggling moms and dads. I was also surrounded by a lot of like deviant, bad baby ghetto kids. We were all products of our environment. My dad left when I was really early, like 3-4 years old, and at the time I was oblivious to this, but my mom was being abused by my dad. I didn't see it, I don't think, and I don't remember it, but I do know that it happened. While my mom was going through that, she also had lost my little sister. I do remember only seeing her one time before she passed away. She was born with a hole in her heart, so she didn't have a lot of time on this earth, but I do remember seeing her. As you would think, that is a lot for a mom to go through, and not even just that stuff, but like my mom has been through a lot of stuff. So she had really bad substance abuse problems, like drinking. At the time, I did have a relationship with God, or I don't think I had a relationship with him, but I knew who God was. Like, me and my brother, we would play games where we would like hop on the furniture, like couch to couch, and try not to step on the floor because we would pretend like it's fire or it's hell or whatever. And we would play like little games like that. I don't know why, but it was fun. So at a very young age, I did have a perception of like God, heaven, and hell and stuff. And I liked the thought of heaven, and I was terrified of the thought of hell. As time went on, my mom continued to have like a really hard time with everything that was going on, so I was actually put into foster care, me and all my siblings, and it was for a year, I'm pretty sure. As I got older, I began to understand why I was in foster care, but at the time I was so confused on why I had to live with a whole nother woman and how she was allowed to like spank us and stuff like that. But now that I'm looking back, I really do appreciate her, and I still love her. I do remember like living in that house and stuff, but I feel like I blocked out a lot of like the experiences I had when I was living with my foster parents, because I really just didn't like it. And this is when I was like 7-8 years old. My childhood really wasn't that bad. Like, I really have no complaints. You just don't really know a lot of things when you're a kid, so I really don't have any like vivid memories of ever being like uncomfortable or like truly upset or distraught by anything. Like, I was just a kid. So but as we get into middle school, that's when things start to get way worse. Middle school is just so almost like groundbreaking, life-shattering. But anyway, in middle school, ages like 9 through 13, this is when I started like having evil spirits sent to me from the devil. Let's start even before I went to school and stuff. Moved out the projects to a low income apartment complex. I had so many good memories, met so many good people in this complex, and it happened to be right next to the school that I went to, so like everything was close by. I had all my friends with me. Like, even though those were some crazy years, there are also some really like good years and like wholesome years. Around this time, this is when I was like starting to make female friends and stuff as a little kid. And I'm not even gonna lie, these girls were products of their environment. They were very like fast. We all used to do like dances like red nose and panoramic, very like provocative and grown up, just seductive grown dances that little kids shouldn't be doing. I was surrounded by kids that like to play house, wearing makeup real early and stuff. I was very influenced by a lot of the people that I was surrounded by. There's always rumors about them like hunching real early and just doing weird things really early. Not having sex, but just being sexual at a very young age. I became a product of that and a victim of sexual assault in the process. My brother and I had like three best friends growing up. They were all male. They would always come over. I was closer to one of them, still kind of best friends with him to this day. But his brother, one night, he did come into my bed and he sexually assaulted me. He was touching me in my sleep. I woke up, I was very confused. I didn't know what was going on. And naturally, if somebody is touching you in very sensitive areas, your body is going to react. And it's kind of like against your will because it may feel good, but you're not even wanting that to happen. I woke up, I told my brother, like, I was furious, y'all. Like, I was so mad. I even almost had my brother, like, beat him up at the time. But I was just, like, so... just like, why did you do that? Like, after that day, everything with me and him completely changed. Like, I don't think I've ever even like really spoken to him since. It's just been weird. I've mentioned him before in the video talking about why I left the left, and I told you guys how like he's probably done that to multiple other girls, and he even has a kid now. And I've gotten brief history about the father figure in his household and how that man was sexually assaulting and raping women. So it made sense, and I eventually forgave him, but we're not going to get to that part because that didn't happen until I was like, I think that didn't happen until I was out of high school when I forgave him. A lot of these kids are super sexual. I ended up liking his cousin, kissing her on the top bunk in my room, and I don't even know how that happened, but it did. The enemy at the time had convinced me that was okay because I felt a lot safer. I wasn't being assaulted and nothing was happening against my will. So I didn't know, but in that moment I came into agreement with the enemy, you know, just thinking that was okay, not even knowing why I was doing certain things. And this wasn't any innocent behavior because even in elementary school, there was a time where I was like skating. This was in elementary school. This was not in middle school, or, you know, it wasn't during the 9 through 13 age range. This happened when I was way younger. But there's one time I was skating and, you know, I bumped into a girl and we kissed, but it was like, it was so innocent and it was by accident. And I'm sure like there's kids who have instances like in elementary school where they're kissing other kids, but it's truly innocent and there's no weird, it's not coming from a place of like perversion. So I've had those kinds of experiences. What I was doing with his cousin in my bed that was the enemy, you know, controlling me at that time. I couldn't give you guys like specific like times or seasons on when this happened, but that was all even before starting school, I think, starting middle school, unless it was like a summer in middle school. But I just know all of that stuff, the sexual assault, me making out basically with his cousin in my bed, that happened. I know that stuff happened before 8th grade for sure, and maybe even before 7th grade. So I was really young. Now let's jump into middle school, like, you know, actually going to school and stuff. The spirits of insecurity and rejection, it came in middle school from me never having like what other kids have. Like, I have very distinct memories of being made fun of because I had like fake Converse with like blue polka dots and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I would never wear those shoes now. But, you know, these insecurities that we have, they start really, really early. I was never confident in my looks, and I was always sweating. Like, I had a really bad sweating problem. You could always see just stains on my armpits like every single day. And guys, I was an athlete. I was a really, really good athlete, and I was sweating more in the classroom than I was when I was running miles outside. And There's a lot of times where I was like made fun of and laughed at in school, and it felt like it was like almost like an everyday occurrence. So I was very insecure about it, and I resented it. There's been times where I've cried about it, and I've been nervous to go to school, and my stomach would hurt. I would have really bad anxiety before going to school. I've even talked to my mom about it, and that's when she was like starting to tell me about boys and stuff like that, and saying like, oh, you might just be nervous, la la la. I'm like, there ain't no way. It was just so miserable, to be honest. All of this led me to just following what others did. Like, I remember it was super trendy to do this in photos and have a headband on your forehead, and everybody had the newest like iPhones and stuff, and I was so embarrassed because I had like an Obama phone. I don't even think it was an Obama phone, but it was a brick phone. It was like a Samsung phone, but it wasn't like the nice Samsung phone. It was like really small and like curved on the back, and if you dropped it, the pieces were going everywhere. Like, and you were going to get made fun of. Photo quality trash, emojis trash, like everything about it was just, it was dookie. Literally, you can find old photos of me when I was like 11 or 12 years old, and you can see what kind of phone I had if you go on Instagram and you search my name, Ramona.Morse. You should go enjoy that. Anyway, it led me to just following what others did. I was never a leader at that time. I just followed the crowd. I wanted to fit in so bad. It led me to trying to find my identity and my purpose in other things. So that's when I started running track, and I became like a really good athlete and stuff like that. And it became something that I was really passionate about. But God eventually took that away from me. My mom did end up having a heart attack around that time, and I had to quit in 8th grade, and that was a lot for me. But now that I'm looking back, that definitely needed to happen, and it actually led me to moving to a whole different school, which I feel like saved me at the time. Shout out to TLC. Ooh, that school has just a very special place in my heart. But before we get there, we gotta finish still talking about middle school. I continued to befriend fast females. I was best friends with this girl that was constantly making out with her boyfriend on the lockers. Guys, I was never boy crazy. That's another thing. I was never boy crazy. I was never girl crazy. You know, a lot of stuff started after getting sexually assaulted and just being exposed to porn and stuff like that. But we haven't got there yet. My friend, super pretty, super like perfect body, perfect face, perfect hair. Like, she's gorgeous to this day. She's great. Good for her. She was so fast in school. Like, her mom would ground her all the time. I would defend this girl. I made her an idol. I fought people for this girl. I beat people up for this girl. I threw books down the staircase when we were leaving class for her to make her laugh. Like, y'all, I was bending over backwards for this girl. Like, that might have been the first girl I ever fell in love with, to be honest. But I didn't like her like that. I was just like truly obsessed with her because I just wanted to be seen with her, and I knew like she kind of was everything that I wasn't. She wasn't everything that I wanted to be, but I knew that other people really liked her because of all of those attributes and stuff, even though now that I'm looking back, it's very bottom of the barrel. No offense. But yeah, I was so wrapped up in her. She got in trouble for all this stuff. She was always in trouble. So her and I eventually fell out because at a certain point I couldn't even see her anymore. Like, she was just always in trouble. And then again, I lost track. I didn't feel like I should be around the people that I was around in middle school. I was kind of sort of terrified to go to the next grade and go to like high school with these people. Like, I just felt in my heart it was not gonna work out. I just felt like I wasn't prepared to go to that school because I never really had like new clothes. I might have had like one pair of new shoes like every year, but like after that treatment I got in middle school, I did not want to go to high school with no new shoes or no real connections, no sport to play. I literally had nothing, and I was so insecure, y'all, and terrified. I was truly terrified. But that was all for a purpose, because when I went to high school, I ended up going to an alternative school, and it really like changed my life. Kind of going to that school, I felt like I made real connections, and I really started opening up. I stopped being shy, because although I was doing all those things and following people and kind of altering my personality. I've almost became like kind of like a mean person when I was in middle school, but that kind of all changed when I got to high school and I got to have a clean slate and I got to like meet people who I've never seen before. I felt like I could be myself, because it's like they don't see how they didn't see, the people at this new school couldn't see how I was acting in middle school, so I felt like I could finally be myself, if that makes sense. Anyway, sorry, that was a lot. So there's all of that, and I'm like around 13 years old, guys. So we're about to get into how I got exposed to I guess like adult entertainment. It really started after the sexual assault and the kissing and stuff. I then started looking up kissing videos. I would watch lesbian deep tongue kissing videos. Like, I had a spirit of perversion in me from a very, very young age, and I was so obsessed with these videos. I would also watch some weird anime about chocolate lipstick that this girl would put on and make out with this boy, and it was really bad. My oldest sister, she was with her now ex-husband, and I got exposed to porn because he left his phone out. It was like a white Samsung, I think, at the time. He left his phone out, and I found porn on it, and I couldn't stop watching it. I'm not blaming him, but, you know, lock your phone. I also would hit his vape because he would not only leave his phone, but he would leave his vape on the table and stuff. So I hit the vape for the first time when I was like 13, 14 years old. And when I hit it, y'all, I was scared because that was the first time I was ever feeling like the feeling of a vape. And after that, I didn't touch it again because that really shook me to my core. A lot of stuff was happening between the ages of 9 and 13, like sexual assault, kissing girls, watching porn. I'm pretty sure I started masturbating at that time, or like, yeah, like that summer before high school. Like, I think that's when my masturbation problem started. Like, so much things happened to me in middle school. You guys just wouldn't believe how much of that kind of stuff just still happens or has just happened to people that you may know. Like, it's unfortunately very common. Very common. Even like the fast, deviant kids, like in black neighborhoods, like that is just a thing. The playing house and hunching and being fast, that happens to be a thing, and I think it's disgusting. Anyways, all of that stuff happened to me between those ages, and it just makes me, I don't know, I am sad about it, but it's like, yo, it really explains why in high school all of the stuff that I'm about to tell you just took place and just became a giant identity for me, the homosexuality and stuff like that. So when I got into high school, I think I was like still 14, so this is like ages 14 through 18. This is when I started coming into agreement with identities that aren't mine, truly. I stuck to them because you guys got my history of being insecure and not knowing where to find my identity or not knowing really who I am and stuff. So once I got into high school and I started getting a nicer phone and being on the internet a lot more, I got exposed to so much more and just started clinging to a bunch of things so I could fit in and so I can look cool and feel like something, because that's all people really want, is to feel included, to feel like they have a purpose, to feel like they are something. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing to like claim a label and just make it your whole life and your whole personality. It's crazy. All right, so start of high school, the perversion was rampant in my life. I'm pretty sure the spirit of Jezebel like had taken over me, y'all. Like, it was really bad. I was addicted to porn at that point. Starting high school, I was addicted. Like, I was watching it all the time. I was watching it when I was bored. I was thinking about it all the time. I was reading smut all the time, masturbating all the time, trying different things to get off all of the time. Not only was I watching lesbian porn, but I was watching straight porn and gay porn, animated porn. Y'all, it got to the point where I was watching animated animals have sex. Like, when I tell you, it was really, like, my addiction was really bad, and my addiction went all the way on until this year. I fell off of a lot of things to the point where I was only watching, like, lesbian porn, but my porn addiction in general literally didn't stop until this year. And I was a porn addict at 14 years old. I was very sexually confused, and that's when I was finding answers online, and I was finding out about NSFW communities, women like women communities online and on Instagram. I was able to find porn on Instagram. That's really hard to do now because it's like basically you can't even do it now. But at the time, I was able to just get in certain areas like of Instagram where normal people wouldn't just be able to find. Like I was searching. Like the devil was active, basically helping me and showing me where all this stuff was, and I was obsessed with it. Even when it comes to the smut and stuff, I then like, because we were all like on Wattpad at the time. I would literally, it got to the point where I was reading smut on the bus, and I was feeling horny on the bus ride to school. I was reading stuff about vampires and werewolves, and they were gay. And I would read stuff about teachers, lesbian teachers, and a lesbian student, and it was all like 18 plus, like smut, sex, all of that. Y'all, I was deep in this stuff. Like when I tell you I was deep in my perversion and the lust, you wouldn't even know. Like I was so good at hiding things. Like even when it came to my emotions, at this time I always wanted to make it seem like I was happy, and I was trying to always pretend like I was like positive all the time. I still do that now, but now I'm able to like acknowledge that sometimes I'm not always positive. Like, but before, like, no, it was like only positivity. And when I was feeling negativity, it was really bad because I was just restraining myself for so long and like restricting myself from feeling regular human emotions. And when I turned 15, that's when I started searching for girlfriends, and I would search for them on Instagram and other apps because I wasn't old enough to like have like Tinder and all those apps and stuff. So there's literal Instagram pages where like LGBTQ plus kids, which shouldn't even be a thing, are able to find other LGBTQ plus kids to date, and they would make posts saying like, oh, say your age, where are you from, what's your sexuality or your identity. And that's when I was learning about the they, them, and the she, her. And I was learning about all that stuff then, and I was so addicted to that stuff. I was so addicted to finding people that were like similar to me, or picking out like the prettiest girls and seeing who matched me the most and what their hobbies were. I would always purposely try to find people who were nearby. I would only be interested in people who were like in Ohio or Tennessee or West Virginia. And my first few girlfriends I found like on those Instagram dating things. I ended up dating a furry. I ended up dating a girl who later on thought she was a man and wanted a binder and wanted top surgery. I ended up dating another girl that was just normal, and she was from New Jersey. And that was the whole thing. And I don't know where she was from, but two of my girlfriends I was able to meet. One of them, I think, stayed in Lexington from New Jersey, and we were dating for a little bit. And then the one that thought they were a dude and wanted top surgery, she would come from West Virginia to Lexington, where I was from. And there was a time where I left Lexington to go to I think it was like Huntington, West Virginia, or Hutchinson, West Virginia. And my perversion and my lustful thoughts were so bad that with my first girlfriends that I was able to like physically hang around with, the only thing I could ever think about doing with them is having sex. Like I just couldn't wait to get in their pants and do something with them and stuff like that. Like I was fiending, like I was really possessed, I feel like, because there's times where I couldn't even stop like heavily breathing while being around a girl that I was like alone with. And I never ended up doing anything because I was never bold enough to do anything. It wasn't catching my drift at the time, thank God, because they were probably way more innocent than I was, and probably way more confused because I was set in my ways, y'all. But I wasn't realizing that wasn't even really me. Just like how that girl probably is realizing she's not a fucking male. Excuse my language. And how yeah. Anyways, excuse me. excuse me, y'all, and this was all before I was even 16. I think when I met the girl from West Virginia, I was 16, but then I remember in 2019, that's when I went to a Pride event for the first time, or a Pride festival in Lexington, and at this time I was identifying as pansexual, but I didn't even really identify as pansexual. I happened to buy a pansexual flag while I was at Pride, and then I just took on that identity because that's the flag that I was wearing on my back. And I would constantly be confused on if I was really pansexual or not, and just thinking about trans people and stuff, because when you identify as pansexual, it's basically to be inclusive to trans people. So I was constantly thinking about trans people and how I'm so inclusive and how I would date a trans person and stuff like that. It was real, y'all. I even remember a girl on Snapchat one time was asking me, she was like, what is being pansexual? And I broke it down for her, and she was just like, okay. But you can tell, like, she was confused at the time. And I would always get so defensive. Like, even my mom would ask, she was like, so you're bisexual? And I'm like, no, I'm not bisexual, even though that's literally what that means. Just real confused, real perverted and demented, sad, unfortunate, but that was the reality, guys. And shoot, like, anybody watching me that knows me, they know that was my whole identity. Like, I did not hide this. Like, I was so proud of it. It was my whole personality, guys. Hey y'all, sorry, my battery literally died and my camera was overheating, so I just took a little sunflower seed break, drank some water. But let's continue. As I was saying, I made being pansexual and just being queer my whole identity. Like, that was the only thing that I was proud of, to be honest. Around 16, 17 years old, I think it was like 17 years old. This was after Pride, because I went to Pride for the first time when I was 16. But when I was 17, I guess when that's when I first got into like a serious relationship with a girl. And like, I was going to her dorm and stuff. She was in college. She had a car. She was driving around and stuff. I got high for the first time with her off an edible. And y'all, I was tweaking, like, I was tweaking bad. Before that whole thing, we were in her dorm and just chilling. I remember we ended up cuddling in her bed, and I put on this show called Sex Education because I was trying to, you know, I guess literally trying to seduce this girl, and I flashed her that night too. I was just doing a lot of weird stuff, y'all. Later that night, we ended up taking some edibles. I started tweaking because she was asking me to like go behind a building. To this day, I still don't know why. Yeah, I was taking off an edible. After that, I still for some reason wanted to get high, and I felt like, oh, I could have had a good experience with my high if I just wasn't doing it with her. So then after that, I would always buy edibles, and I was high all the freaking time, y'all. I was always fried. Then I wanted to start trying psychedelics. I got a hold of LSD, and then I became addicted to that. I was constantly buying tabs for myself, y'all. I loved being high on LSD. Like, I was constantly tripping. There's even a couple of videos. My first time tripping out was with my best friend, and then after that I kept buying more for myself because I just liked it so much. And I have videos where I'm literally high and like getting ready for work and stuff like that. And it was just, yeah, there is clearly a substance abuse problem. And at this time, my mom was still drinking. There's been times where I just couldn't handle it, and while she was drunk, I would be high because I'm like, yo, like, I'm not dealing with this. There was one time, like, she was in the tub and I was in the living room because that's where I was sleeping at the time. That's where my bed was. She was in there drunk and I was in there on another planet, and she literally didn't even know. And I remember one time I left the edible in the fridge, and she saw it and she just thought it was like a regular brownie, and me and my brother started laughing because I was like, girl, you better not eat that brownie because you're gonna be through. There's just a lot of times where I just wasn't sober minded at all, and I never really liked being sober at times. Like, I just kind of got used to, and I kind of fell in love with the feeling of being high and just being out of this world and stuff. And around this time I was working at Amazon, and I was meeting some I met like another best friend He's still cool to this day. We're not as close as we were, but hopefully when I move back to Kentucky, we can kind of get back where we were. But I was constantly drinking with him and another girl that loved to party and rave and stuff. At that time, I was always drunk or high. And y'all, I was high. We went to a masquerade themed party, and I remember like being so excited, but I was also like purposely trying to like leave the city and go to this big giant party, so my mom would like worry for me and like worry where I was at and stuff. And we went and we drank alcohol and mixed it with LSD and was just mixing so many drinks. Like, y'all, that was probably the most messed up I've ever been. Like, I was in and out of consciousness. And my friend, he was driving under the influence there and when we were leaving, because you can imagine how long that trip was, and then mixed with the alcohol. It was just a really like horrible time. And I remember by the time we were even able to make it back to Lexington, which literally took like a whole day, y'all, I don't even remember, because when we were, coming back, I was waking up. I went like this, waking up. I was waking up, falling back asleep, waking up, falling back asleep. We still not back into the city. By the time we get back there, the only person that finds out that I was out and stuff was my stepdad, and he was like really like pissed, and he was like, "Oh, you're lucky that your mom is drunk right now, because she would have been da 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 da." And I was like low-key distraught, because I'm like, dang, she wasn't even thinking about me. I felt very like rejected and angry at that moment. And I started like holding grudges with my mom. I was always fighting with her and stuff like that. There's even been a few times where I was in the house and she was drinking and stuff, and she would bring up the sexual assault and say, "That's the only reason why you think that you're this." Because she would point at the flag I had at the wall, the pansexual flag, and she was like, "You only think that you're all these things because of what that boy did to you," and da 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 da. And I would literally get so mad, because like, nobody likes hearing the truth. At the time, I was denying that with every fiber in my being. But I just couldn't, I didn't want to accept that. And I was just really hurt that she would bring that up, especially while she's drinking and while we're fighting and stuff. And I remember like, I was like, at that point, like something had changed. Like, I had a lot of anger inside of me. Like, I was feeling so much anger and so much sadness. Like, that was probably around the time where, yeah, this was like 17, 18. So like, that's when I started, that was like the first time I've ever had a thought of like not wanting to be on this earth and stuff like that. And, yeah, you can imagine like just how much that is for a person emotionally, and, how bothersome that can be, like, especially as just like a rebellious teenager that just wants to do whatever she wants to do, and she's truly just lost and always seeking answers and looking for enlightenment and drugs, and is addicted to porn and has all these problems that she doesn't ever really want to face, because she's just always pretending to be so happy and positive. And that's truly how people saw me, because I was a pretty good actor. I'm not saying that I was like sad and depressed deep down, because really I wasn't. Like, the only two times I've ever really felt sad or like confused is like after the sexual assault, or after a breakup with that girl from West Virginia. Like, I felt really sad then, because I thought I really liked her. And then like moments where me and my mom would fight, like those are the only times where I would sit and I would feel that feeling in my chest, where it's like, it's just undescribable, but it's not good at all. It's just very dark and sad. So after all of that with my mom, I had a grudge because I was mad, and I knew after that night I wanted to move out. Like, I knew I could not stay there. Like, there was times where I was hiding the bottle from her, or pouring it out outside and just throwing the bottle away outside and stuff like that. So at that time I knew I wanted to move out, and I was ready to go. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to be grown. I'm ready to live on my own. There's been a few times where I had to go to my sister's apartment, my oldest sister's apartment, and stay with her. And, it would be really fun because I was around the kids, and they have like such light energy and stuff. And it would be good for the time being. But even when I was with her, I always felt bad, because I'm like, yo, like, she can't even have her house to herself. Like, I'm here because I can't stand my mom, and she's sitting here, she has to be a mom to her kids, and I'm like literally taking up space in her home, and she's like trying to figure out her life and, you know, stuff with her and her ex-husband and, like, you know, potential people. Like, I'm just like, I was always somewhere where I feel like I just wasn't supposed to be. Like, I didn't feel welcomed anywhere. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. There's been so many times where I just walked outside and I was walking for so long and just walking to places I've never walked before. Just thinking about that time makes me so emotional because people didn't know I was doing that stuff or feeling that way because I didn't ever want to confront that, ever. Never ever wanted to confront that. Okay, so around November, December, I forgot what year it was, but I was still 18 years old and I was working at Amazon. So all that stuff happened like a little bit in like earlier in that year. And I was fresh in Amazon. I didn't start working at Amazon until like October and stuff. And I turned 18 in April. So around end of November and December, I found my roommate, my first roommate. He looked really cool, super feminine guy, kind of looked like a fairy. I was just so like drawn to how he looked and stuff. Ended up finding out that he's a drug dealer and he's looking for a roommate. And you know what I was thinking at the time? I was like, yo, this is literally like the perfect scenario. I got humbled. That was probably the worst mistake I've ever made in my life. I ended up moving in with him. Literally, I did this with quickness, y'all. I moved in with this man within 2 weeks. Like, I never even seen the apartment I moved in with him. Because y'all know, I had a grudge with my mom, and I was just ready to go. So I didn't really care what was happening. I just knew that he lived downtown in a nice apartment on top of a restaurant next to bars. And I said, yes. That's it. So yeah, I met him not realizing how much baggage he had. This is when all of my growing up kind of started. Or not even growing up, but just like seeing very like grown up things going on around me. Like, that's when all of that really started. So he was with a guy that was abusing him physically. There's been times where I saw him beat up. The boyfriend was like closeted and like didn't want anybody to know he was gay or whatever. And yeah, he was leaving soon, so I was the replacement. And I remember seeing this dude like maybe one time, and the first time when I was getting to know my roommate, he was like kind of still there, like they're kind of still around each other or whatever. And the first time I met the boyfriend, I was like getting high with them or whatever. And y'all, I still remember I was gone. Weed is a psychedelic too. So I describe it as psychedelic because not only did I hit it out of a bong, but like he was like teaching me how to do it and not doing it as if I was a beginner. So my first hit was like a really big hit, coughing really hard. I almost started I felt like I was having a panic attack. I was like I was trying to like catch my breath. Like, it was really bad. And like even after that first hit, y'all, that's all I needed because I was so gone. Like, I remember looking around and it was like, it's hard to describe. It's like, it was psychedelic. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say things were like moving and all that stuff, but it was, ooh, it's so hard to describe. He also knew how to make edibles and stuff like that. Yeah. I was in a really dangerous situation now that I think about it, because that's also when I got into New Age. He was like a proud witch. Like, he knew how to do spells and stuff, believed in like astrology and stuff, and I was into that too. But even when it came to like signs and stuff, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm a Taurus, la la la. But like, I didn't really take it seriously. I just saw it as a way to like bond with people and like kind of communicate, because I knew that's what was trendy. I never really believed in signs, and I still don't. Like, that's when I got into crystals. And yeah, I would see him after the boyfriend ended up leaving. That's when I would see him cast spells on him because he was just so angry at him. And he would do all kinds of weird like demonic stuff. He even had some like demonic items in the room, and I just didn't really care. I could always feel that I was, dang, I just spit. I could always feel that I was like surrounded by a very dark person, but a part of me really like loved him. And there was a few times where we had like romance. It wasn't anything like with the girls that I was with. It was very like just fun, and us just having fun. Like we kissed maybe like once or twice, and we were constantly getting high together, and we got really close because we were living together in a tiny studio apartment, and there's no walls, there's no privacy. Like we've seen each other poop, we've seen each other naked, we've seen each other cry, angry, happy. Like we were really close, and part of me does miss him, but he was just very like dark at the same time. Like it got worse over time, and what sucked is like it really could have all been avoided, but I think all of that happened for a reason, because I don't think us staying together would have been like a good combo anyway. So, and we weren't in a relationship, like that was just my roommate. So when I moved in with this roommate, I had the most money I had ever had in my life. Like I had a lot of savings and stuff like that. Got addicted to weed and you know, dabs, shrooms too. Like I got addicted to shrooms. My other male best friend, he was always obsessed with crystals and people like reading him and doing the fortune telling, that weird stuff. All of that stuff is demonic, y'all. Don't play with that stuff. Don't pray to crystals or look for answers in items or other people. Don't make these things your idols. Don't believe in them, because it's not God that you're believing in. It's something else, and if it's not God, it's evil. So yeah, I got into all the new age, literally like everything. I wasn't casting spells and nothing like that, but I was constantly around it, and I thought it was cool, and I was interested in it. So I was just as wicked as him, because I condoned it, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. I had a crush on this one girl that was also very like witchy in a way, and she loved smoking weed all the time. She ended up like kind of becoming best friends with my roommate, so she was always over, and I had the biggest crush on her because she's just like so pretty and like petite, and she was just so cool, her and her sister. At the time we were really close, and my roommate was trying to like, I guess, be Cupid or be a wingman and hook us up. But it didn't work because she was always fooling around with some dude. She was fooling around with multiple dudes, and I think she knew that everybody thought she was super cute, and she actually had her own issues that she was like dealing with. Like she knows that people only look at her and like acknowledge her because like she's pretty and we want sex, and I feel bad that I was like a part of that gaze and a part of that problem that she had. But hopefully she's doing a lot better now. But I was like obsessed with her too. Like I really wanted to, I was always thinking about kissing her and stuff, but I was like too shy, and I honestly wanted to be her girlfriend so bad. But like I feel like she would play with me. Like I feel like she knew that I liked her, and she would just like string me along, and she'd only come over to get high with me and my roommate and stuff. And at a certain point I started to like resent her and not like her, and it was probably for those reasons. But yeah, I was whipped up in a lot of buffoonery, to be honest. But also around this time I had a lot of friends, and I would bring my friends together and have like little picnics outside and color and talk, and I have vlogs of all this stuff, and it was a really good time in my life. I'm not even gonna lie. Like now that I'm talking about it now, and it doesn't sound that good because I'm showing you guys the side that nobody else saw. But on the outside, and like, you know, when everything was happening, I was pretty happy. Now that I'm seeing it without the veil, I can see the good and the bad. But you know, at the time I was like super happy, and like I really did have a lot of friends, and had drugs, I had friends, I had my own crib, I crystals, I just thought I had everything, but it really didn't mean anything, and it all went away. So let's get to that. We ended up getting evicted from that spot because I found out I was never put on the lease, and my roommate was never paying rent. I did know that he was running out of money, but I was not going to pay for him because he purposely stopped paying because he found out that I had savings and just thought I was going to like make up rent for him. Mind you, our rent was $500. So he was only having to pay $250. And I met him at Amazon, but he thought he was going to quit to become an influencer online. And he thought that was going to work, but it didn't. So he had no money. He was a drug dealer, but we smoked literally everything. And he was also getting to the point, he hit a dead end, because right before then I found out that he was lacing the weed with ketamine so people would get hooked and buy more, or like, you know, wanna, so he can try to make more money. So he was doing some very messed up things that I wasn't even aware of. He was also, I think, a prostitute. I'm not sure though. Like, I knew he was scamming credit cards from old white men. That's not funny, but he was also like having sex with men, like I guess straight men or whatever that were really gay, and getting money from them. And there was a few times where like we drove to a hotel and I had to sit in the car and wait for him to come back, just, you know, so I know he didn't get kidnapped and stuff. And he would go in there, do his due, come back, and we would go home. And we were just always like up at night and high, and just, I thought I was living the life, y'all. I thought I was living the life. From the outside, it looked really, really cute and fun, and we were cute and we were having fun, but I'm just not into those worldly things anymore because it wasn't fulfilling me. I was still hurt at my mom. I was still always pressed about my mom. I was still always trying to look for healing and enlightenment. That's why I was always doing drugs and stuff. I was constantly lusting. I couldn't get rid of that lustful spirit, that spirit of perversion. I was always looking for girls and feeling like I needed to have a partner, and it was weird. But I just convinced myself, oh, this is just life and this is okay. Like, no, bruh. No. So after that whole eviction, that's when everything really changed, because I was still working downtown because I had a job down there. But I had to move in with my mom, and it was good at first, but I didn't know she was still drinking. One time I came back from work, it was like at 2 a.m. because I was working at this pizza place on like campus by University of Kentucky, and they didn't close till like 2 a.m. So I'd get home. I got home one time around like 2:33, and I went in, and my mom immediately started fighting me because she was like drunk or whatever. And like that was our first like serious physical altercation, and I ended up kind of like throwing her on the floor to get her off of me. And I think my stepdad was there, but he was just kind of, he was always like letting her push him over, and he ended up leaving. And I ended up getting kicked out. Like, I legit got kicked out, and it was like pouring outside. And when it happened, like, it was not, I wasn't laughing, but I was in like true disbelief. And I was kind of like, I kind of found it humorous because I knew in that moment, I was like, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I had a couple of goals at this time. I wanted to buy a Jeep. Like, my dream at that time was like to buy a Jeep, and I kind of had the funds for it. But after that, because it wasn't going to happen anyway, my mom was like saying stuff like, oh, you got to have your license first. And my stepdad, he wasn't okay with it because I didn't know how to drive. And because I was thinking about just getting the Jeep and kind of living in it, because y'all know I was like, I'm still obsessed with like mobile living and van life and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I know I don't have my license, I know I can't drive, but I'm just gonna live in it so I don't have to live with anybody else. And that was my whole plan. And I had a couple of other like cool plans, but I literally gave up on all of that because it just wasn't gonna happen, and I felt like nobody was gonna help me like fulfill this. And then the whole fight with my mom early that morning at 3 a.m. that was really the last straw. So I contacted my sister, and I was living with her for 2 weeks, and I was very like, I wouldn't say depressed, but I was very low at this time. I was very angry and sad. I was constantly crying, and I was planning to move, and my sister helped me decide to move to Florida. 2 weeks later, we bought a plane ticket, and 2 weeks later I flew to Florida, and that's how I ended up here in Florida. When I moved here, I was in the poorest county in Florida, which is Madison County, and I was living there. And yeah, I remember before the morning before the airport, or the morning of going to the airport, my sister Gabby, before I left, helped me say bye to everybody. Like, took me to say bye to everybody. So I said bye to my sister Jordan, I said goodbye to my brother Isaiah, and I said goodbye, I think I said goodbye to my stepdad, and then I said goodbye to my mom. And I don't know if she was just sleepy or if she was hungover. But when I was saying goodbye to her, you know, we hugged and all that, and she heard what I was saying and stuff, but I don't think in that moment she fully comprehended that I was like, I don't think it was really like settling in her that I was like really leaving. Like, I don't think she saw the severity of the situation or really fully knew what was going on. But that was the last time I saw them before I left. And before I got on the plane to move to Florida, my sister gave me this necklace, and it was just so emotional. I was like, dang, I'm really about to leave everything, and it's because I'm angry. And I was standing on it because I felt like I had to do that, and I literally had already told all of my friends and stuff that I was leaving, and I was just so mad. Like, I felt like I had nowhere else to go, and I did not want to stay with my sister again because like it just made me feel guilty every single day. And when whew, when she gave me this necklace, like that's when it was like I'm spitting and crying everywhere. Let me get a tissue. I shouldn't be sorry, but I'm sorry. Cause whew. I think my sister was crying too at that. Oh, I'm about to cry again just thinking about it. But I think that was like, I've seen my oldest sister Gabby cry before, but it's only during certain times. Like I'm the crier of the family. Like, I cry the most, so I think that was like me seeing her cry for the first time in a really long time. And ooh, y'all, I was so tore up when this was happening because I was like really, like, I was excited because at the time that's really what I wanted. But the severity of my actions was really like setting in. And yeah, that moment she gave me that necklace, I was like, oh yeah, like this is, whew, she told me to take this with me so so God can protect me and stuff like that. And whew, and I remember getting on the plane and I just could not stop crying. Like, people were staring at me, like probably looked like I was getting like trafficked or something, or like I was just really tore up. Even the guy that was sitting next to me kept like asking if I was good, and I'm like, please just let me look out this plane window and just disassociate, please. Ended up falling asleep and eventually made it to Georgia, and I was in Valdosta and Ubered all the way Ubered all the way to Madison, Florida. And that's kind of where my real adult life started. Yeah, I just had 2 suitcases and a key waiting for me and a cubicle apartment with really big Florida bugs inside of it. And that's where the Florida journey started. And if you had me on Instagram, it was such a big deal. Like, I posted a photo and I had the keys and took a picture that I got like over 1,000 likes and stuff like that. Because I was doing really good on social media at the time and stuff, and I ended up doing way better when I first moved to Florida and stuff like that. It's just crazy to think about, y'all. That was like over 2 years ago now. It's been 2 years and it's been 2 years and 4 months since then. So it was just, it feels like it really was not that long ago. And all of this was being recorded. At this time, I was still on YouTube. I literally just have a time capsule of all of this stuff, which is insane. That's why I cherish like having a YouTube channel, because like y'all really do kind of see everything. I started this channel when I was like 14, and you know, my oldest videos now, I'm 15 in those videos because my earlier YouTube videos have been permanently deleted. I wish I didn't delete them, but yeah, I really like have recorded like kind of a lot of this stuff, but you guys didn't really know the behind the scenes and like the darkness of my life, and it just feels like really good to share it. But let's get back into Florida. So I'm new to Florida, by myself, feeling grown. One of the first things I wanted to do was try Florida weed. So that's exactly what I did. I went searching and I found it. Found a couple of people to smoke with. One was a really like older man, and he he wasn't creepy. He didn't try nothing with me, but he had a big red truck that said Big Sexy on it. And he was like overweight. And he always had his stomach out. And he literally had a tattoo that said Big Sexy on it. And we were smoking right next to a laundromat in Madison, Florida. Honestly, looking back, like, I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed a lot of this stuff. Like, we had some like good conversations, and I met a lot of people. A lot of people were asking me like where I was from and if I was okay and stuff like that, because they had never seen me before. And Madison is really small, so if they see somebody new, they're gonna be wondering like where you came from, because they know everybody and everybody knows everybody over there and stuff like that. I had got a reliable plug that would drive from here where I'm staying all the way to Madison, and we would smoke together, and I thought she was cute. Nothing ended up happening with that, but I was still indulging in my addiction to weed. And at that time I became really addicted, because I was smoking by myself and I had a lot of savings. So y'all, like, I was always fried. I met a friend at the park, and she would always come over and smoke with me, and then she introduced me to more friends, and to Ariana, my ex-girlfriend. And again, smoking. We all loved to smoke, and honestly it was like really fun, and I loved them all to death. They helped with the loneliness that I was feeling and stuff like that, because before they really started hanging out with me, y'all, the only thing I was really eating was like sandwiches, chips, and sunflower seeds. Like, I was really skinny, and drinking a lot of water, and I was walking all the time. So I was skinny, but I think I was healthy, but like, I don't think I was getting enough protein and stuff. But I was like really small, and like, I looked healthy, but like I could have ate a little bit more or whatever. It wasn't like a bad skinny, but I was just small. And it was probably all the smoking I was doing too. Ariana and I started dating, and you guys kind of like saw how that unfolded. We were just flirting with each other and friends at first, like that. It was very like romantic and fun, and like it was just very new, because I was by myself, and like this was a serious, like my first actual serious relationship. Like we broke up last month, so this October would have been our 2 years. So like from the time we met, like, we've never been separated. So yeah, and I started having sex for the first time, and I became obsessed with that, because I was finally acting on these urges that I had for so long, and I was literally obsessed, and just ugh, you know. Just, she had a car, and we were constantly driving around with the windows down. I was like, oh my god, this is life. And for the first like year, it really was like pure, just, it was just bliss and just fun and stuff like that. But when we moved to the city, that's when things like started getting serious and stuff. Like, my funds had run out by that time. I had $7,000 when I first moved to Florida, and by the time we moved to the city, all of that was gone, because I was just trying to you know, keep up. It was really hard to find a job when I was living in Madison, and that's the whole reason why I even moved to Tallahassee. She was already moving here, and when we got together, I was like, I'm coming with you, because I'm not gonna date somebody that's living like an hour away. Nah, bruh, nah. So that's how we ended up here. That's when things kind of got more serious, and we started having, like, you know, relationship problems as couples do. I started paying bills when I moved to Madison, but like, I was paying like higher bills when I moved there, and I had like a serious job and stuff like that. I didn't have one flat bill. I had like multiple bills now, and stuff was just getting serious, and, you know, relationship, bills, young adult, still grieving the fact that I've left home, and still angry at my mom, and a lot of stuff. By the grace of God, Ariana and I are like this still. That's my girl. Like, I love her so much. She really helped me heal my relationship with my mom. Like, she helped me so much. She helped me like handle my anger so well, because like, she's been in therapy and stuff, and was my age, and had problems with her mom and stuff too, and like, she just was so like understanding. What didn't help was I was around like people that were a little bit older than me, because she's like a little bit older, and her friends and stuff, they like to drink and smoke and stuff. So I was still doing like shrooms and stuff. I really liked shrooms and drinking, and there's a few times where I drank and I was just going off and like having a really bad like reaction to the alcohol, because I was thinking about my mom and I just wasn't happy, and she's seen me break down multiple times. A lot of stuff that I was dealing with, but I did not broadcast online and stuff like that, because that's not stuff that I want people to know about. I don't want people to know that I'm unhappy with my move. I want everybody to think, yes, you need to move 10 hours away from your family, and this is the best decision I ever made. Like, that's all I wanted people to think. Ariana and I started having like more problems, and me being in a serious relationship for the first time, I'm sitting here at one point thinking, like, after a really bad fight, like, oh, it's like we really like broke up, because like we did break up, and I thought we were done. Like, I thought we was done. I thought we were like finished. Like, I thought it was through. So like, out of spite, I went to Pride, and this was like a Pride event in April, and I purposely went with this girl. We didn't do anything, but I purposely went with this girl and was trying to make her jealous and all this weird stuff. A little bit after that, I met this guy. He came into the job that I was working at, Smashburger, and he was saying he liked my piercings and stuff, and he thought I was super cute, and he asked me out. I went out with him. It was really awkward when we tried to hook up. By the grace of God, it didn't work, and I'm so happy, because I was just willing. I was so willing to. I don't know what was wrong with me. I don't know what void I was trying to fill, but it just didn't work, because he was like one of those people who had to like take pills to like get himself together and like get hard and stuff. And even when it came down to like just the act, he was over top of me, literally sweating on me. And guys, at this time, let's go back a little bit. I had started OnlyFans. When was it? I don't know when I started, but it was like in the summertime. And I was like maybe like 4 or 5 months in when this interaction happened, and after the breakup and stuff like that, and I'm just fooling around being stupid. So I was on OnlyFans too. I was making money off of OnlyFans. And if you happen to have me on there, you know I had a whole story time about this guy that I'm talking about. Nothing really happened, but I still like kind of, well, now y'all got the story for free. But yeah, that happened. Ariana found out. That was a whole thing. I kind of had broke her trust at that moment, and after that, our relationship, it was fine. Like, we were still together, but there was like, it just wasn't the same after that. And she vocalized it a lot of, like, so many times, and I truly felt so guilty, and I felt so bad for doing that to her. I mean, I didn't cheat, but it felt like I had cheated on her. And when you've like broken someone's trust, it just doesn't feel good, because she is my best friend. Like, she was like, yeah, I have friends now, but at that time, she was like the only person that I have. Like, she still is the only person that I have. Well, she's not, but like, she's my best friend or whatever. So at that time, it was still very hard, because I'm like, yo, I just really like messed something up, and things really did change from there, even though we were still together. And we were able to like bounce back from that, but like I said, it's just not the same or whatever. So all of that stuff happened, and I'm doing OnlyFans and stuff, and she's cool with it. She knows that I was doing it, stuff like that. I didn't even have a reason to do OnlyFans, really. I just didn't want to work a regular job, and that led into more sex work. And I don't know, I thought it was okay, because the things I've seen in the past and stuff like that, like people that I was hanging around in Lexington had accounts, and my roommate did sex work. So I thought it was okay. I thought it was women empowerment and feminism and getting to the bag and being a girl boss. Embarrassing. My time might be a little off, but I think I did that for like 8-9 months, and then I quit, because I got tired of like having to text people and keep up with people and stuff like that. Also, the money wasn't extraordinarily good. Like I was making enough, but it was just like you could have just got a regular job. Like I wasn't any top percent or nothing. Like I was making like a regular amount of money like a regular job would pay. So gave up on that, but I didn't want to get a regular job, so I gained an interest in dancing. And I kind of still have like a problem that I need to get together, but like I'll watch especially like females do all these like, you know, crazy careers and stuff, and it inspired me and made me feel like I wanted to do that. And just to go back a little bit to before I ended up before I left Kentucky, there's a vlog. I went to Atlanta for 420. It was right before my birthday and stuff. And I had met a creator that I was really obsessed with and admired. She's also into sex work and new age and drugs and stuff. And I idolized her too. So I just had a lot of like, I had a lot of ideas that I thought were okay that I'm not okay with now. But let's fast forward back to, you know, when I quit OnlyFans and thought maybe I should become a stripper. I was influenced by another creator that I know does really good work on the pole, and she honestly inspired me, and then I started dancing. So at that point I was like doing adult entertainment, and I had some experience, and I was just trying new things and stuff like that. When I was working at the club, I was surrounded by a bunch of females that were basically naked all the time. So perverted thoughts all the time, spirits, evil spirits in the club all the time, nobody sober. I met some really like evil people. I've met girls that have been molested, trafficked, people that were in the club since they were 14, met girls with fake bodies. I was meeting men, dangerous men with guns and drugs that I have never partaken in, like, you know, meth and coke or whatever. I liked the money, and I liked watching the females. Like after my stage set, I would literally sit and be an audience member and just like watch them intently and just be obsessed. And like, y'all, it was crazy. And I was always high, drunk too, because I was always having men buy me drinks and stuff. And I was still underage. I was only 20 years old still. I was still 20 years old. Yeah, this was like December, beginning of this year. In the heap of that, I even had a divine encounter in the club while I was dancing. A man had came up to me and was saying like he could tell like I was the only person in the club with a soul. And I was just weirded out because I'm like, what are you talking about, you know? But, you know, now looking back, honestly, he was kind of right, because a lot of stuff ended up happening. At this time, I was vlogging everything that I was doing and profiting. Well, I wasn't profiting off of it on YouTube, but I was, like, getting really good engagement because I was, you know, doing stripper vlogs and stuff like that. And people in the comments they weren't really, like, encouraging me to do it, but they were saying, like, you know, be careful. There were even some people saying like, I can tell like you're not supposed to be there, like you kind of just look very innocent even when standing next to these girls, because like now even when I look back and watch the videos, like you can just see it, you can see it in the eyes and stuff. Like these women were like just dead inside and stuff, and I was just so like giddy and happy and just hype because I'm sitting here thinking this is all fun and games. So I do that for basically a month, and going into I think it was going into February. Yeah, because I did it for like, I started into December, went all through January. I only worked on like the weekends or Thursday throughout the weekend. But going into February, I was there for one shift, and I ended up getting laced that night. And I should have had my guard up, but I didn't. We were constantly rolling up and smoking in there, and I just, for some reason, I don't know why, I didn't trust them, but I wasn't thinking. I left the blunt open with weed. Come back, we're all smoking it, and I start tripping out. Like, the music slows down. It gets very quiet. I'm looking around, people are looking at me. The bartender started laughing, so like she knew something was going on. The other people that were smoking, they weren't really tripping out like I was. So that's when I found out that they were users of like coke or meth or something, because somebody put something in there. I don't know. I don't know if it was a psychedelic or if it was just, I just don't know what those kinds of drugs do. For the first time in my life, I've felt like just extreme rage, like anger. That's why I'm convinced it was like coke or meth or something, because like I was angry, guys. Like, I was shaking. I was like it almost like was giving seizure. Like, I was shaking like I've never shook like that before. Like, I was so angry. That night, God met me in there, because it did get quiet again, and I just, for some reason, my body stopped shaking, and I just closed my eyes, and I was calm all of a sudden. And I'm pretty sure God was talking to me and, you know, telling me to get it together, not only for them, but for yourself, like my safety and stuff like that, because I was having really, really dark thoughts, like burning the building down or just fighting somebody, jumping over the counter. Like, I was livid, and the girls I was surrounding myself with, they were like dumbing the situation down and making it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. After I had calmed down, which I'm telling you guys, it was the Holy Spirit, because you don't just go from violently shaking to suddenly being able to like sit still. And I'm still fried. I'm still cooked. And also I had a Red Bull. I had alcohol and Red Bull, and I still took the Red Bull with me and was still actively drinking it. So I still had the jitters, and I couldn't sit still at all. Of course, you couldn't imagine with all that stuff in your system. Like, I just wasn't able to sit still. I did end up going like kind of towards the side of the club and like sitting on like a couch. And a pimp came in, and they really tried to set me up and get me, you know, taken out of the club and stuff. And he knew I was messed up, so he kept trying to like get me out of the club. He's like, oh, I can help you, la la la. And I got angry again, because I'm like, these people think I'm stupid. Like, I'm messed up right now, but I'm still in my right mind. Y'all just saw me flip out and get angry because I just realized that y'all laced me, and you're gonna still try to like kidnap me or something? Like, what are you doing? I wanted to punch him in the face. I wanted to punch the dancer that was sitting next to me, encouraging it. Ended up going to the locker room. The girls that were coming in for the night shift caught wind. The people that were already in there kind of went in there just to see like what I was gonna do. The bartender ended up coming back there, and guys, I had like, ooh, this is so scary to think about, but I don't know if it was the drugs or if it was just like the spirits in them. But I just remember when everybody surrounded me to like ask if I was good and ask what was going on and stuff. There's just so many different questions and people in my face for different things. When everybody was looking at me, guys, it was like, ooh, I can't describe it. It was just like, this is why I say I don't know if it was the drugs or not, but like they were like, it was like everybody was kind of looking like this. And it was like their eyes were a little bit like bulged out, and like everybody's eyes were wide. So I didn't know if I was tripping out or if it was just the devil playing with me. But that happened for like a good minute, where people were just staring at me and everybody's eyes were I'm not gonna say they were abnormally big, but it was like they were wide. I was really going through it. Like, the torment was bad that night. I was angry, I was confused, I felt played with. Yeah, I had to stay in there for like literally 2 hours because I wasn't going anywhere until I sobered up, because I just had a feeling like I can't go outside like this. There's a lot of weird people in this area. This was in Panama City, Florida. The club's name is Bambi's Dollhouse, by the way. This isn't the first time something that like that has happened there. There's actually been a lot of bad things happening to girls and like victims from that club. So yeah, rate them literally 1 star. They're supposed to be getting shut down. They've been shut down before. Anyways, I had to stay in there for a couple hours and sober up, and I ended up leaving. But before I left, the manager, which was, or not the manager, but I guess like the lead or whatever, she's basically a manager. She was like interrogating me and like trying to get me to like stay and like come back eventually, and she's just really weird. She has really bad energy too, just trying to get me wrapped up in there. And like the girls, even in the locker room, they were trying to convince me. They was like, oh, this is just a part of this life, and you can still make a lot of money tonight, like we'll all stick up for you. Like even girls that I knew didn't like me, all of a sudden were being nice and trying to get me to stay. And that's why I feel like it was just low-key set up, because they were like, oh, like you can make a lot of money tonight, like we can turn your night around, like don't let this stop you from getting your bag. Like it was just like a lot of like demonic stuff that I was hearing, because like these people in the club, not only do they have like Jezebel spirits and are always being taken advantage of and stuff, but their idol is money. So they'll do anything. They don't care what happens to them as long as they get money. And they were trying to like put that on me too. And you know, when I was working there, I was obsessed with money because I was making so much money. I was by the beach, like me and Ariana were eating out literally every day, going to the beach early in the morning whenever we wanted during the day. And they were like trying so hard to convince me to stay, and like their eyes were wide, and just like so many different like feelings that I was feeling, and I literally couldn't even talk. But anyways, when I was trying to leave and stuff, she was trying to convince me to stay and stuff. And eventually, after I kept like telling her like, you know, I'm leaving, she had like, that's when her energy switched, and she was just like, oh, we'll leave then, like see ya, like go. And that's when I left, and I just started walking down the street. Eventually, when I got far enough from the club, I just called 911 because like I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't really know where to go. I told them that I was high on something, and they dropped me off at the library, and that's when I called Ariana. I was having a bad time on the way, you know, back to our city and stuff, and she wasn't very happy with me either. I felt so like defeated because before dancing, Ariana and I did get into it about like how like, oh, what if this dancing stuff doesn't work out? And I'm like, no, like don't say that, because I was still into like that new age manifestation thinking, and I was like, no, it's gonna work out because I say it works out, and I'm gonna make sure that it goes this way, and da 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 da. And I was just like I was so stuck in my ways, and I was so sure. And then after that little bit of time, everything was gone, and I had got laced, and didn't have a job because I wasn't going back. And it was just like on the ride home, I was numb. Like I felt defeated and I felt numb, because I was just like, I was really just confused on what just happened, and like I was like questioning if it really happened. And I couldn't sleep, and I stopped smoking. I thought then that I was like done smoking for good. I was like, oh, this is it and stuff like that. And I went on Instagram and I started like exposing them, and I was like really angry and stuff, and there's just a lot. I was just really numb. So after that, I stopped smoking, didn't have a job, broke, because when you have fast money, and it makes you want to spend it because you know you can just get it back real quick. But I didn't think I'd be losing, or I didn't think I'd be quitting that job, because after that I wasn't going to stay, because it's like anything can happen to you in the club and you can go back and you can continue to make all that money. But I'm not one of those people that's just gonna have that happen to me and stay. Like, I'm not that stupid. Like, I'm stupid. I'm not stupid. I was stupid and naive, but I wasn't that stupid and naive. My battery died, but I'm back. So all of that happened, and I didn't have a job. I was too prideful, so I didn't go and get a regular job. Or I applied for jobs, but I literally didn't have like a job for like 2-3 months, or like 2 months. And I had a lot of pride and didn't think I should work a regular job, because I had convinced myself on the from being on the internet. I had, you know, gathered this huge ego and thought I can just be cute and I don't deserve to work a regular job. Like, people should just pay me. I had that kind of attitude. And then, you know, being in a club, being in an environment like that, you start to think like that. You start to become very like bitter and prideful and stuff like that. So I was just very bitter because I was broke and upset, still angry because of everything that happened. And I was constantly always checking on the Instagram page of the club, and I was just mad deep down because they were still running that business every day. And obviously I was probably talked about, and it's probably hot news for the next week. And I was just mad because like everything was still going on while all this happened to me. And yeah, Ariana and I started having problems because she was having to pay for me like my half of everything. We have a 50-50 system going on, but you know, we couldn't do 50-50 because I had lost my job and I wasn't making any money, and that eventually became a problem and stuff because she was kind of like doing everything for me. And then we started having problems because like we would get into intense fights and I would get like kind of offended and stuff like that. And I was even realizing like at the time I wasn't falling out of love with Ariana, but I was realizing I wasn't in love with her like I thought I was. And when I was with Ariana, not only was I doing sex work, which is weird to do when you're in a relationship, but I was still watching porn all the time. Some of the girls that I was friends with on OnlyFans, or like some of the girls that I followed on Instagram, I had their OnlyFans and would watch their stuff. I was still so deep in my porn addiction. I had stopped smoking for a little bit, but I eventually got back on that too. So I was still smoking. I'm addicted to porn, having relationship problems, feeling like, oh, I'm falling out of love with my girlfriend. Still always wanting sex and stuff. I was always trying to like force her to have sex with me, even if she didn't want to. And it was a hot mess. And I was being really toxic. She was too in some aspects, but I was really I was not being a good person really. And I was being selfish and always like kind of telling her like, well, like you should do this because I'm your girlfriend. And like just it was really bad, y'all. And you guys didn't see this because I wouldn't post about this. Before I started getting into the dancing and the OF, I would do videos where I smoke and just talk about life and stuff. And I was expressing how I was just so like kind of scared about like not knowing what's coming next and stuff like that. And I have videos where I'm like smoking and just talking and being you know, open, but not fully telling all the details or like why I'm feeling certain things and stuff like that. In my mind, I knew like something was going on with my feelings towards Ariana. I wasn't thinking things like, oh, like I don't really like her, but I'm still with her. I just thought I was like at a low point, because when we had really like bad fights and stuff, we would just say, oh, like, you know, this is what couples go through, like we're just going through a really low point and stuff. But and that is true, but we would have it like too much. Like those low moments and those bad fights would happen like more often than I think a normal couple should have. And we would get really nasty with each other, and I would want to break up. And then after we broke up, I would still sleep in her bed and we would still have sex. And I was starting to feel guilty, and I was still addicted to porn. She didn't know I was. Those times where I kind of like forced her to have sex with me, that wasn't like a 1 or 2 time occurrence. Like it happened more times than I would like to admit. And after like she would give in and like we would have sex and stuff, I would sit there and cry. And I would lie and say, oh, I'm crying because it felt so good. But I'm really crying because I'm feeling convicted right now. I'm feeling guilty. I just forced my girlfriend to have sex with me. I have these problems and I need to have sex so bad. And that's really why I was crying. But so she didn't feel awkward, or so the situation didn't, like, go anywhere bad, I would just lie and say, like, I'm just so emotional because, we just became one and, like, we just had this magical experience. Like, nah, bruh. Like, I was just really, like, I was constantly lying about how I was truly feeling. I was never able to I couldn't get vulnerable with Ariana because I never wanted to, like, admit certain things to her. I started having like encounters with God again, where I would literally ask him things like, why do I feel this way, and how do I get rid of these thoughts and stuff like that. Still struggling after a while, even after asking for help. And I asked the Lord to take away my lustful desires, and I asked the Lord to take away my my spirit of perversion, and, like, I was praying to stop being, like, addicted to porn and stop trying to, like, look up these idols that I was obsessed with, and it really stopped. Like, it's like supernatural how my life kind of shifted. But I wasn't vocal about this, and I was proud of myself, or I was well, proud of myself because I'm thinking I did that, even though on my own time I was crying and praying to the Lord. But I was just happy that I was kind of able to get over that. But there's a few times where I, like, got back into it and stuff like that, and then I would pray again, or it was low-key starting to become noticeable because Ariana would have, like, moments where we're laying in bed and she would ask, like, oh, like, why don't you want to have sex, or why aren't you kissing me as often, she started noticing that I wasn't calling her baby and stuff like that, and I was still lying to her, and I feel so bad. I was still, like, lying to her, and I just was not ready to, like, fully commit, even though I was getting help from God and stuff, and I had sat there and prayed for help, and I got the help. I was still being, like, kind of not a good person to the one person that's constantly here for me and stuff, and I was just lying and, like, in that moment comforting her and calling her baby and, like, maybe having sex, knowing I really didn't want to. I was just doing it solely for her pleasure and stuff like that. But then I would have to go back and ask the Lord to forgive me and take away these desires and stuff. And so June, I was having, like, really bad spiritual warfare, and I was constantly asking for help, but going back and doing things that would put me in a position to ask for more help. By the time, like, July came, like, the first week of July, I was having such bad conviction, spiritual warfare. I was having really bad guilt. Like, it was really, really bad. Like, there's been a few times where I was, like, just crying, like, like, boo-hoo crying. There's one time I went to work. This was right before I got saved. And I was, like, just spilling everything to Ariana. And I was so confused about... mind you, during this whole testimony, I want you guys to know, especially, like, when I became, like, a teenager, maybe, like, 16 or 17 through, like, 17 to, like, this year, right before I got saved, I was, like, lukewarm, and I was kind of, like, I wasn't proud about being lukewarm, but I was a lukewarm Christian. As a kid, I had, like I said, I had perceived God and had, like, an idea of, like, God, heaven, and hell. But when I got to, like, probably middle school, I kind of, like, let go of that because I'm like, I don't want to be fearful of a God. I also didn't want to always think about hell and the fact that I was going to hell, and I stopped believing in hell for, like, a really long time. I don't think I ever really stopped believing in God. I think there was a point where I, like, convinced myself I was, like, an atheist, but, like, I don't know when that was, and I doubt it was, like, a real thing. Like, it was a phase for sure. Anyways, yeah, but I just wanted to let you guys know, like, when I was a kid, I knew who God was or whatever, had an idea, and then I went through like a weird phase where I didn't want to believe in it and stuff, and I guess I was like kind of like atheist. And then there was a time where, you know, after I did psychedelics and stuff, I started believing in a higher power again, and that was like in the midst of all of my substance abuse, which is crazy, isn't it? He was always there. But back to what I was saying, I feel like this is so jumbled up, I'm so sorry. But yeah, in July I was having lots of spiritual warfare, lots of crying, lots of worrying, paranoia to the max. Like the worst paranoia I've basically had in my entire life. I was kind of having like, I was feeling like how I was feeling as a kid, like worrying about hell and going to hell. I was having those experiences again, but as an adult. So it was like, it was really bad. Like it was way more scary and way more like convicting than it was when I was a kid, because I really didn't understand. But at this point I had more knowledge on, like, you know, the faith and stuff. I just was lukewarm and stuff, and I was kind of proud of being lukewarm. And you know, I was just okay with my lifestyle and stuff like that. That night at work, Ariana was with me because she was staying to study before she worked out a little bit. I was crying to her and I was like, should I even be wearing this? Like, I was like kind of basically having a panic attack, and she was like just trying to like tell me to chill out and like, you know, don't worry about all that stuff. And I was just feeling so like lost. I called my mom that night too, which you guys can learn more about this in my video talking about how I gave my life to Jesus and stuff like that. But I called my mom that night too, and I was crying to her too, and she was trying to comfort me and tell me, like, you know, you're not gonna burn in hell, and God already knows your destination, like, you're good, like, don't worry. And then later in that shift, when it got into the AM, that's when I met Deborah, the prophet that helped me give my life to Christ. Like, she helped me with the prayer. She helped me say yes to Jesus. I got saved that night. The whole time we were talking, though, this is something that I didn't say in the video. The whole time we were talking, and she was like, you know, filling me with the Holy Spirit. There was a lot going on that night, like goosebumps, dancing, crying, stories being told. Like, I was just really opening up to her, and I just was not expecting any of that to happen. And the timing of like all of that just shows it just wasn't a coincidence, especially since I was having so much spiritual warfare right before she came. You know, God sent her for a specific reason. Anyway, when we were talking and doing all that stuff and I was like opening up to her, I basically kind of like told her everything except for the fact that I was gay. Like, I did not tell this woman I was gay, because I know how, like, someone like Deborah, who is like deep in her faith, I know they are not okay. Well, obviously we're cool with gay people and stuff like that, but I know how they think about the lifestyle. So obviously I'm not going to tell her that I have a girlfriend and that I fornicate and I'm sexually immoral and you know, stuff like that. I didn't want to tell her any of that, because that was like basically the one thing that I was still struggling with. And I didn't tell her, and I got saved that night. And after getting saved, and you know, after I had those times with God and, you know, telling him that I want to lose these lustful desires, I knew after getting saved that I really didn't want to act on, you know, having sex with Ariana and stuff like that, because I didn't really want to. Ooh, this is just, it's not good. But we literally had sex like hours after I got saved, and I felt so convicted. Like, I felt horrible after doing it, because I was enjoying it, and a part of me didn't want to do it, but I still did it because, like, we know sex feels good and stuff like that. So I still did it. I literally felt so freaking horrible after that. And then after that, I started treating her bad again, because I felt convicted. Because of my own conviction, I started treating her bad. I stopped calling her baby and doing that whole thing. Literally did not have sex after that. I was still sleeping in her bed though, and just not being able to like tell her that I didn't want to be with her. And eventually it happened. We both grieved, of course, and it didn't really go that well at first, because I don't know, I had to admit a lot of stuff to her and kind of like reveal all of these things, and it was really hard. But that happened, and we're good now. Even better, I think. Like since getting saved, like I've had so many like deep conversations, not only with Ariana but with like family, with a couple of friends too, but especially with Ariana because I've been with her for the past 2 years and I truly had some explaining and apologizing to do. And I'm just really happy to have somebody like her because like she literally understands me. So like she's my best friend, so she literally understands me. And like she was hurt, of course, because I was keeping all those things for her and from her and not telling her a lot of things, but she didn't like, you know, fucking, she didn't, excuse me, she didn't dismiss me or, you know, stop being cool with me after that. And I was literally having I was having such a hard time going back to work and stuff after the breakup because I was like mad at her for being mad at me and the fact that we were fighting every day. And I was deep down having a lot of fear that we were never going to be cool again, and I was already knowing in the back of my mind that I was ready to move back home and stuff. Just a lot of stuff was going on, and I was scared like, oh, what if I go back home and we're not cool again and we fall out like all the other people in my life have, you know, fell out with me and stuff. I'm just going to be losing another person that I got really close to. Like I prayed about it, and I was just crying pretty much every day and just going through a lot of stuff, guys. I was really going through it. And I prayed and I prayed and had conversations, and eventually like everything worked out. And I'm so freaking happy because like I was so scared. I'm like, yo, I feel like I'm losing everything. Like I swear, like when you give your life to Christ, like you do lose a lot. People will treat you different. The enemy is gonna test you and torment you even more because now you have chose a side, you know? And all of that happened, and yeah, and now it's October, or not October, but now we're 2 weeks in August, and like stuff is like really good, and I have a date for when I'm moving back home, and Ariana and I are cool. And I lost a lot of friends this year, but the ones that are like my sisters in Christ have stayed. Ariana, Nia, I'm way closer to my mom compared to like when I first moved to Florida, like extremely close with my mom now. I enjoy my job, and I feel safe at my job, and I feel like I have cool people to work with. I don't have a lot of money, but I don't really care about that stuff anymore. I'm more inspired than ever. I'm sober. Like there's just a lot of things, and I'm like, y'all, this is all the work of God. Like there's nothing else that can do all of that. Literally by the grace of God we are here, and I am like able to tell this story. I never thought I would even talk about these things that I've brought up, so that was a lot, and it feels so good. Like I feel so light right now, like especially compared to when I first started recording this. Like the enemy was really trying to stop me, and now it's like, oh, I just felt like I've lifted just a giant rock off of my neck. Like there's something sitting right here, and now it's just like I'm loose. Like I'm having one of those moments where I romanticize my life, and I feel like I'm entering a new era and a new chapter. And it really started when I got saved. Something changed that day, and things were getting done after that point. Even like a couple days ago with Ariana and Nia, we were sitting right outside on my steps and just talking, looking at the stars and crying, because we were all just talking about how like, yo, there's been so many changes this year, but like so much good has been going on, but it's so bittersweet because it's like now I'm going back home. Like I feel like I've really taken everything I needed from Florida, and what really makes me emotional is just like just still being able to have my friendship with Ariana, and still have Nia, because I started off with so many like friends and stuff like that, and now I'm about to go back home. I thought I was gonna be staying in Florida, but I just feel called to go home. I lost so much and I gained so much. I feel peace that I haven't felt before. I really thought I was gonna stay here. I thought I was gonna be a freaking stripper, y'all. I thought I was gonna be, I didn't know I didn't know really. I'm just really enjoying my last moments here in Florida. Like, Ariana's birthday is coming up and I want her to have a great birthday. Ooh. It feels bittersweet having to leave all of this, but I finally feel ready to. Another reason I get emotional is because with Ariana and Nia, they give me a reason to come back here, and like some people that I met at my job too. Like, I'm just so thankful, and it's all the grace of God, for real, because I could have lost pretty much everything. I could have just continued to be prideful and continue to be lustful and continue to let my addiction and everything that I had going on control my life, because at one point I was just really comfortable with that, and now I just have so much more clarity. And like I said, the only word I have to describe it is bittersweet. Just very bittersweet, very thankful, and like I don't know. I don't know. I'm just so happy that it all worked out and stuff like that, because I was so worried, y'all. I was so worried. But all you have to do is ask God for help. Like, that's it. All you have to do is say yes. Like, and it's hard. After you say yes, things are gonna get hard. Or like right before saying, people think as soon as you accept Christ into your life and you accept him as your savior, people just will assume like, oh, your life is good and all that stuff. Like, no, bruh, it's still hard, but now you have somebody there to pick you up, and you have somebody to always be there with you, and you know, show you what you need to do and guide you and tell you what you need to do. That's all it is. Like, life didn't get easier. I'm gonna continue to cry and have really bad moments. I don't feel like how I felt before. I don't feel like I don't have anywhere to go anymore. I don't feel lost. I don't feel like I have to like seek answers and things anymore. I still have issues for sure. But you know, I'm being sanctified every day. And it just feels really good to be at this place. And it's so like, oh, it's so emotional, because I'm gonna soon be looking back at my videos of being in Florida while I'm living in Kentucky, and then I'm gonna go through things then, and then be looking back at those moments. Like, just, ooh, I'm just going through life. I'm just going through life, living life. I really don't know what else to say. I feel like just very tender right now, and like I need to rest and eat something. I'm gonna head out. I really hope this testimony did something for someone. I hope you enjoyed it, me exposing myself. All of my prayers have just been coming into fruition, so that's all that's really been going on. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna head out. I need some water. That's my testimony. Be aware of the posture of your heart, guys, and stay blessed.